start. You got it? You are on. Thank you. Where did Randy go?
Probably the easiest job you have.
Yeah, mine wasn't easy.
Hang in there.
Maybe we'll figure it out though.
Steph, will you lead us in the pledge tonight? Thank you. It's an easy one.
You look a little thinner.
You should.
Oh, one flew away from my goal there.
I just got out of COVID restriction 2 days ago. Me and my wife, we ran out of tests, so I had to get the government put me in more.
Yeah.
You know, I heard that they canceled that basketball game, the college basketball game.
Clemson.
Yeah, something like that.
You know, Loudon, is it Loudon or North County? One of them closed down this week because of sickness.
Probably so. All right, may I have your attention, please? I'm going to call it to this work session of the Kingston City Council. I'd like to ask everyone to please stand. Mr. Brown, if you'd lead us in invocation. Ms. Wright, if you'd lead us in the pledge of the flag.
Pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, once again, we come to you with grateful hearts, thanking you for a community that we live in, thanking you for a beautiful day today. We thank you for everything that you do for us every single day, but most of all, we thank you for your Son who died for our sins. We give you praise every day. Be with us, lead, guide, and direct us. And we ask all these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Do you have any citizens wishing to address the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll go on to number 4, presentation of the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022.
Hi, glad I can be here tonight. I think in the past Richard Hill's presented, and I've been the in charge on the city audit for quite a while now, maybe 10 years, 8 years. I don't know how long we've done the audit, but I'm glad to be here tonight and be with you guys. I'll start out. I'm just going to kind of go do a basic overview, and then if y'all have questions, you can chime in. I'll start first with the audit report, which is kind of the most important part. Clean audit opinion. You know, we didn't have any issues. We also issue something called a management letter, which addresses any kind of internal control problems that we found. We did not have any comments in that letter, so that's good news. They're doing a good job in the city of keeping the records and recording everything correctly, and they were able to get us all the information we needed. So that's good news. I will look on page, let's see, page 21 is your balance sheet that you guys are used to seeing. Those first few statements kind of throw everything all together, have some different kind of accounting presentations. Page 21 is the balance sheet you guys are used to seeing for the governmental funds. You can see the general fund ended with $8.2 million in assets for the year. That does not include capital assets, just cash, property taxes receivable, those items. A little bit of liabilities, some income listed there, deferred inflows. Those are things that are going to come in the next fiscal year. Ending fund balance in the general fund was $4.7 million, with most of that, $4 million of it being unrestricted. So that's a great place to be in. That shows fiscal responsibility, good, you know, kind of stewardship of the funds. Y'all have plenty of funds available to cover expenses and anything y'all may need going forward. And then if we flip on over, kind of go through the water, on page 38, you can see assets for the water fund, which does include capital assets, were $21 million at the end of the year. liabilities of 500,000, long-term debt of 4.5, and some deferred inflows that'll come in later for pension of 400,000. So ending net position for the water and sewer fund was 15.7 million. A large portion of that is tied up in your capital assets, but 2.4 million in water and sewer fund was unrestricted, available for future spending on expenses. So again, a good place to be in. On the following page for that, you can see the water and sewer income statement, ending the year with an increase in net position for the water and sewer fund of 400,000. So that's, again, a good place to be in. You're not worried about the water board knocking on your door. No worry of a loss or anything like that in the water fund. So that's good.
Yeah, they've already been here.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's why it's good, right? Like they came in and sorted those rates out. I want to flip back. That's kind of a broad overview of the financial position at the end of the year. I want to flip back and talk about the general fund budget, because I think that's an area that a lot of people like to focus on. And then y'all may be aware, there was a comment from the state when they reviewed your financial statements about the budget having been overspent. And so I wanted to kind of address that and then answer any questions you guys may have on that. So if you look on page, sorry, I gotta flip to it here, page 35, you can see total expenditures of 9.9 million and budgeted expenditures of 9.1. So you were over budget by 800,000. But the majority, well, all of that over budget expenditure is due to payments on the debt. When you guys restructured your debt, the accounting rules require that we say you received this amount of income and then you paid off this much debt. And so you guys approved that restructuring. And so it may seem as though you overspent your budget, but really you approved the restructuring of the debt. You approved the debt payments that you decided to repay with that restructuring. And those are included in that 2.6 million that you see on page 35, which makes up 2.4 million of an overage. So you can see without that, you'd be way under budget. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so the state, and I think Michelle said the state actually called and talked to her about that, and she explained, well, that was because of our debt restructuring. And they were like, oh, well, we didn't really realize that. And they probably wouldn't have commented if they had thought that. We did not actually, overspending is something that we would normally put in like a management letter or even possibly in the findings in the report. We did not include a comment on that because we knew what it was from. And so I think in the future, if you do a restructuring, it's a good idea to do a budget amendment, and you would just say we expect to get, $5 million in loan proceeds and pay off $2.5 million in other debt. And so Michelle, I think if there is a restructuring in the future, you would want to do that. It's such a rare occurrence that, by the time that happens again, everybody might be different. There might be a different board, and they might not do that. They might not know to do it either. So I wouldn't worry too much about that having happened. So, any questions on that? No. Okay. There's not a whole lot more that I would want to point out in here. Like I said, y'all have a good ending net position. You've got good stewardship of the funds. Y'all are doing a good job on budgeting, regardless of the state comment. So if there's any questions or anything y'all want me to talk about, were there questions? I think there maybe have been questions on the library budget, stuff on it, kind of moving that into the city stuff. Is there anything y'all want me to address with that?
Does anybody have anything?
Yes, I was going to discuss the library because they had questions about needing maintenance going forward, significant maintenance, such as I know we're in the process of putting up 2 new lights in the parking lot, and there was discussion on maybe a need for replacing the heating air unit, although I think they've had someone come look at, and it could just be repaired.
Okay.
But I was wondering, because so their maintenance, it's in our contract that the city does put of the library budget. But if they have, two significant things come up at the same time and it's over their budget, then, how does that come out? How does the city pay for that if it's exceeds their budget?
So I think, and because it's all kind of new and fresh, maybe emotions are maybe tender and so I want to, acknowledge all of that, right? But, those donations to the library are donations to the city library. And so if there are excess donation funds that aren't needed for other things, and there are repair expenses that need to be paid, I think from an accounting standpoint, those could be used for that. Now, politically or, those kinds of those kind of human management of issues, does the board want to say to the library, you need to use those funds for this and this and this, or do we want to say those funds are for books or library programs or things like that? And so that's really kind of a management issue of whether you guys want to use those funds. If the council wants to come together and say, we want to use those funds for anything the library needs, or we want to use those funds specifically for, library board approved projects, books, those kinds of things. But I think accounting wise, you'd be able to use them however you needed to. Does that
Yes.
answer your question?
Well, really, their questions were about the
Okay.
process on,
Okay. How
commu-
they get to use those funds?
for the maintenance.
Okay. So they would need to, I guess, let Michelle or whoever know
Yes.
that they need an amendment to the budget. And so you would, come to the board and present those amendments. And then there's usually a first and second reading. I will tell you, when we look at a budget or look at anything really, we look at when the first reading was and consider that kind of as passed. Legally, it does have to have 2 meetings and be read twice. I have yet, and I've been doing this for 20 years, I've yet to see a council not just approve the second read of anything that I can remember in 20 years. And we do, 20 cities. So it's pretty rare that a second reading changes anything. So I think once that first amendment has been approved, then they can spend the funds. If it's some kind of an emergency repair, something that needs to be done right away, as long as everything's kind of at the end of the year been budgeted and covered, then you're not going to run into any kind of finding like in the audit or from the state or anything like that. So it's kind of just making sure that those funds are there, and that you'll be able to do a budget amendment, because you don't want to overspend the funds, if that makes sense. But as long as that's being, told to people and the council is aware and can vote on it, then I think they can spend those funds as they need to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
But with them being a special entity and we have a maintenance agreement as far as money, how does that affect it on the years going forward? That if you give them extra money one year, they're under a maintenance of effort agreement with us.
So I think that's really just a council's decision as far as how much they want to provide, and that could fluctuate from year to year. Really, in cities, you can only do something 1 year at a time because everything does have to be budgeted. So the council could decide next year that they don't want to fund a library. I mean, you're probably not going to do that, but you technically could. So I think, it's just kind of that relationship, how much do you guys want to supply? If you give them extra money this year,
Yeah, but my question is, if we give them extra money 1 year,
yeah.
because of their maintenance of effort, we have to give it to them the next year, and the next year. Correct?
I don't believe so.
I think and Ann, correct me if I'm wrong, so in the maintenance of effort, it's prescribed how much that maintenance of effort is. So we can give them money, like if, let's say for example, we give them their $200,000+ annually for their operating budget. if council wanted to fund, let's say, for example, a heat and air unit, they could do that separate
Yeah,
of the maintenance of effort.
absolutely,
So-
absolutely. I think you just need to make that clear, you know, when you're passing that additional funding.
That it's not raising the.
Yeah,
employee.
that this is an outside
One-time
need,
expense.
one-time need, and we're not adjusting that agreement. And I think that's fine.
And more than likely, more than likely, I would appropriate that out of City Hall buildings budget, just because that is a city-owned building. So if we did something like that, we would appropriate it probably that way.
It's
and
kind of
not
a
put it
unique
in their
situation,
budget.
really, because, I mean, who pays the utilities? Do you-
They do.
this-
The
oh, they
library
do.
pays for their own water and electric,
Okay,
yes.
okay,
But it is a city building.
yeah.
But like if they spend, I'm sorry, if they spend part of their, donations and we appropriate it in their budget, I keep that running tally. I keep up with that, so when I have to report to the state library what the MOE was from us, I also have to subtract out what the county's was, so I know what they spent of ours.
Is the maintenance of effort their budget,
214,000,
and the rest of it is not?
the rest of it's not.
Okay.
Some of it's county, some of it's amendments from their donation.
But it all shows in one lump item as the library donation.
Yeah, so you just have to ask me and I can tell you.
Did I get it? Anybody else? Well, from being on this board for several years, the first thing I do when I get these little red books is look at the last page. I know Mr. Brown does too,
Yeah,
and that's good that it was no findings. That's
Yeah.
always good.
yeah, well, they do a really good job, and, we really appreciate, you know, getting to work with you guys, and it's really nice to come to a city. We do a lot of cities, like I said, and sometimes the records are not as nice as these are, so we appreciate that a lot,
Well.
and I'm glad I could be here tonight and talk to you guys.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
All right, thank you.
All right, item 5, discussion to approve the re-roofing of the Fire Station 1. Mr. Bowling, Mr. Gordon?
So, Chief, some of you may have seen him. He was outside with the.
He's back here now.
Oh, is he? Oh, there he is. So, didn't know you were back there, Chief. Sorry. So he can come up and speak on this if you need him to. Basically, as you all know, we've had a need there for quite a while to replace that roof. When we did the bond issue in 2021, we earmarked $100,000 for the roof. Thankfully, the estimates came in considerably under that, so that's a good thing. We did get 3 estimates. Chief and I both were of the opinion that the estimate from Turner Roofing is the best. That was $45,700. If you'll notice in my recommendation there, I recommend that we, if this is something you want to approve, that we approve it not to exceed $50,000 to allow a little bit of contingency there. But that not only will that get it done, a much needed job done, but that's going to free up the remainder of that money for other projects.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing, and spoke to Chief about it, and he said that if this is approved, they should be able to get going on it pretty quick. So.
Okay. Mr. Childs? Would you talk into your microphone so we can hear you, please?
Oh, sorry, sir. I thought it was on. I'd like to have Chief Gordon come up here. I had a couple questions to ask him. I was looking also with the one y'all went with. It was also a 20-year. I like that because when we got appropriated for that money, we wanted it to last. Well, that's what, yeah. But we come up and we had appropriated, like I said, $100,000. I talked to the chief a couple months ago. It was kind of cold weather. I stopped by the fire hall, and we were downstairs talking. We went upstairs. He's going to show me some stuff that he was doing to the bathroom, which they done with donations. If y'all hadn't got a chance to go by, stop by and look at the bathroom. It's really nice. They done all that work themselves. So I asked the chief why it was so cold upstairs. The windows I brought up last month. There's probably at 10 degrees at least from the downstairs to the upstairs. Well, the windows upstairs need to be replaced. There's no insulation above the ceiling tile. I think you said there wasn't nothing in the top of it. We're over at $50,000. I'd like to talk to the chief, and you said probably $30-something thousand to get the windows put in and
we can do the install and stuff, it's just, and do whatever it needs. I don't know, I got a price from one company on the windows and stuff, and we can't afford those. So we'll have to shop around and get window prices, which I know I can get.
I guess
real
my
good deals.
question is, with the money we have left over, can you do that, the installation and what you need for $40,000?
Yes, sir, and probably give you some money back.
Okay, what I'd like to do is add to the agenda next week, if we could, is to go ahead and replace those windows and insulation and not to exceed $40,000. And that would take care of that and reduce the, electric, and plus, like I said, there's a 10 degrees difference from the downstairs, upstairs in cold weather.
Yeah, we can put it on the agenda. I don't see an issue with that at all.
Okay.
Somebody got anything about that? Okay, yeah.
I'd like to thank
Thank you.
council. Everybody pretty much stopped and looked at our tools we got in. They're finally here. And I appreciate the roof. And if we can do anything else, like I said, we'll do the work. So
Well, I'm sure those windows are probably originals from the
they are the
60s.
single pane glass.
Yeah, they're pretty thin. All right, thanks, Chief. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Mr. Bowles.
All right, now let's talk about another roof. Continued discussion of replacing the roofing of the building at Fort Southwest Point. Mr. Bowling, J.R., Jacob.
Yeah, so this is one that we've talked about before, but as you all know, there has been some response to the previous decision that was made. So before we move forward, we wanted to bring this up and make sure that everybody's on the same page. As you know, we know that we have 7 buildings at the fort that we need to re-roof. And looking at options, of course, you know, all those are done in cedar shingles. So that was the first place we looked, and saw that was going to be a very significant expense. We started looking at options, and of course we came to you with the option of doing a metal roof that simulates a cedar shingle. And we have samples. I think they have samples of that here. And you all approved moving forward with that. Since that time, there's been some feedback on that, and so which prompted us to come back. One of the things that has been said repeatedly is that if we do this with anything other than cedar, you know, which is period specific, then we will eliminate our access to historical preservation funding. Well, I dispute that, because those aren't historical buildings, those are replica buildings. So they wouldn't be eligible for that type of funding anyway. Now the grounds perhaps may, if we wanted to do more archaeological work someday or something like that. But you know, the bottom line is we're looking to maximize what funds we have. And you know, you just like with the fire hall roof, you know, we earmarked some money for this. If we go with the metal roof, then that's going to free up money that we could do on other things, the palisade wall, some of the other stuff that needs done up there. If we go with cedar, as you see with these estimates, you know, that's going to take every bit of our money, isn't going to last as long. So, you know, we think that the impact of doing a metal roof is not going to be as bad as some are making it out to be. But you know, I want you all to be able to make that decision. That's a significant investment and a high-profile piece of property. So we want some feedback. If you all want to bring up those samples to show them, and you know, again, you got to think this is something you're going to be looking at on top of a building, and those would be layered. But tell them what you have here.
This is it's basically metal coated. It's just kind of, and it's lifetime warranty. It would pretty much go up the same way the cedar does. A lot less work, a lot cheaper cost to put up.
And those would be shingled, just like
Yeah,
a cedar shake.
This bottom will fit up in here. But I mean, you can see the difference and look. once they get aged, there's not a whole lot of color difference, and these come in a bunch of different colors. So, from the ground, I don't think anyone would really notice it much, you know. But the cedar, this would be the new cedar that they put up. It'd be a lot thicker than this, and they're saying they can warranty it for 50 years.
50?
Yeah.
Labor's only 2.
Yeah.
Labor's 2.
Yeah.
So the cedar that we've got up there now surely wasn't under that same warranty.
No, no.
Okay.
That was appearance grade only.
Yeah, this stuff's supposed to be for siding and stuff like that. It's not really meant for roofs. This is what's up there now. The other stuff is Canadian, I guess. Does it come from Canada? It's quite a bit thicker than this.
It's 3/4 inch.
Yeah.
Cedar.
And is the warranty on the cedar, that's on manufacturer, correct?
50-year manufacturer warranty with 2-year workmanship.
So just because it's
So a
warranted for
wood
50
roof-
years doesn't mean it's gonna last for 50
No,
years.
that's a tough sell to me.
Yeah.
I don't think cedar's gonna last 50
So
years.
how,
No.
what's
There's no way.
what's the longevity on the metal roof?
It's lifetime warranty.
Lifetime.
Now, is that the color that we'd be going with,
No,
or
there's
is,
several different colors.
Okay.
We've got a color palette of all kinds of different colors. There's
I
lava
mean, they
color.
have the cedar color look,
Yeah,
I think that's weathered.
yeah. This is more supposed to match this. I think a little better. But,
Oh, because that's what's on there now.
yeah.
Okay.
Once it gets old, then, yeah, it's probably
Would match
15 years probably.
You know, and as I've said before, if these were original structures, this wouldn't even be a question. You know, obviously we would retain the period accuracy of them, but and we can certainly do that now if that's the direction you want to go. We're just trying to get the most out of a limited amount of funds, and you know, there are no grants that are going to apply for this sort of thing. Again, because they're not historical buildings, so it's one of those things we're going to have to fund, and what's the best use of our money. So, but I know I've been contacted. I think some of you have, and that's why, despite the fact it's already been approved, that I brought this back up. I just want to make sure we're all singing from the same hymnal on it. So.
I myself have not been contacted, so this is news to me. I do see that there is, you know, $50,000 difference in pricing, and a lifetime warranty and a 50-year warranty. I understand the aesthetics of it, and it is hard to kind of visualize. I mean, there's wood up there now, but I don't know if we have so much traffic at the fort that people will be up there in an activity and say, oh, that roof is not wood shake.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously, if somebody inspected that closely, you know, you're going to be able to tell a difference. But, you know, if you're driving by and you glance up at it, you're not. I mean, so, again, it's just what do we want to spend our money on? I mean, I think it'd be great to finish the palisade wall.
Right.
And actually make it look like a fort.
Right.
And to be able to do some of the other things, but,
So, in these comments that you're getting, were these individuals under the impression that these were original buildings?
no.
Okay.
No, there was just the statement that it would, just a general statement that it would disqualify it for grant funding.
Uh-huh.
And the example that's been cited to me by a couple people, which I know something about, was the Oliver Springs Train Depot.
It's an original building.
They went in, it's an original building, they went and put energy efficient windows in it, and that disqualified it from certain historical preservation grants.
Different
Different.
scenario
It's
completely.
apples and oranges, so.
I've not been contacted either, but after I got your email about it, first, I think we have already instructed you to put the metal roof on to begin with, and that if we change, we have to do away with the instructions we gave 2 months ago. I'll address the historical value of those buildings, and I would compare it to the oldest building in Kingston, Tennessee, the courthouse. Has it got a metal roof on it? It wasn't built with a metal roof on it. Has the outside been changed? It had copper downspouts. They're now galvanized painted. It now has an elevator in it that wasn't built there originally, and they're still getting grants.
The brick was painted as
The
well.
brick was painted, and one painter spent a month painting the white mortar joints in it. I was fortunate enough to have the contract on that once upon a time. So I don't know if we're looking at grants for the fort out there. If that were the case, you know, what is surrounded, you're looking at all the buildings, and I'm assuming that's the gift shop. Does not include that. Does it include the little cabin building behind it? So that's something that the city built that wasn't even part of the fort in its original output. And you know, it's funny to me that fort originally was built to last a couple of years, and here we are worrying about and trying to make it last 50 years. That's the reason the Palisades posts have fallen in. They're constructed of pine trees that are located about 5 foot in the dirt. They're all going to come down. When you start adding, I know we feel good about adding on and making it look like a fort. I dare say if we go out there and wiggle too much, the rest that's not already fallen, the chances are grand that the rest of it's going to fall. So I'm for putting the metal on and going ahead and doing it while we've got the money.
As we've already,
instructed the city to do.
If anybody doesn't have anything else about it, it's
I may get called.
it's done.
It's on TV now.
Well, I want to know, nothing. I'll ask you later. All right, if it's already been voted on, discussed, it's go. Item 7, continue discussion of budget amendment. Ms. Kelly.
This month I'm only bringing you 2 changes to the general fund budget. One of those is because we purchased the Delaney property the other day, and we had the county's money, that their match that had already been amended previously this year, and this is just to take $177,000 odd to out of the ARPA money to appropriate for that expenditure. And then also we needed to fund codes enforcement for the sampling that was done on Gulhar Road this year, and that was just really a minor thing, but we just didn't have it in that line item budget. So we were covering that, and I really just want to say thank you all for letting me bring these budget amendments to you all. As Ann said, the comptroller's office contacted me the other day about the finding that our expenditures on last year's budget was over revenues and all that. And he called me to tell me that I might want to look at doing monthly budget amendments.
Did you tell him we do it anyway?
Yeah. So I thought that was quite humorous, and I told him why, and then he understood. But anyway, thank you all.
Okay. Any questions on the budget amendment? All right. Item 8, discussion of transitioning from hard copy paper packets to iPads for council members. Mr. Bowling, Ms. Jackson.
So this is something that we batted around before. Never really got any traction. Kind of thought about it again as we are paying more and more for paper, alarmingly more for paper. Wanted to throw this out there to see if there is any interest. A lot of printing goes into the packets that you all receive. A lot of time goes into putting those together, getting them sent out. And so we wanted to throw out the idea of going paperless and using technology to get you your information. Our thought was that you could have an iPad with your packet on it, the charter, the zone, all your information would be right there, and we wouldn't be printing out binders of this and that. So Again, if this is something that you are interested in, then, you know, we could revisit this as we're talking about the budget in the coming year, but we didn't want to do any real legwork until we found out that it's, whether or not it's something you're even interested in. So, Kelly, you can expand on that if you have anything different, but.
To give you an idea, though, a box of paper went from $25 to over $45 right now. And I use more paper than anybody in the city. And we can get just the basic model. This would be a iPad 10 with the Apple Pencil and the case and everything with it. And that's the low end of it for about $540.
Myself, I think it's a good idea. I mean, since I've been back on council, I've had everything emailed to me and I use it on my laptop. So, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I want to hear what everybody else thinks.
I mean, I think it's well known that I hate having the police officers come to my house every week and drop off a packet, and so I have long done away with that unless it's a special called meeting. The amount of paper that goes into making a council packet, budgets, all that stuff, it is enormous. So not only do you have the paper cost, you have the administration cost, and then you have the police department cost. So I'm happy to talk on this more.
Exactly what she just said.
Okay, anything, Mr. Brown?
Cause you could basically go 6 months, 7 months and have them paid for,
Yeah,
and
That's
you're
right.
still paying five more months.
And they will go beyond us being on council. You know, it's not, you know, I know technology comes obsolete quite quickly, and I know that's some consideration, but the iPad I've had it for 7 years now, so
And, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, those of you that are on committees, you know, all your committee stuff could go on there. You know, municipal code book, you'd have everything right there with you. So, it sounds like there's at least some interest in it. So as we
Yeah.
get into the budget, we'll take a deeper look at that. And
You know, if y'all remember, we brought this up 7 years ago, maybe?
Probably
8 years
Eight.
ago. And, there was a local newspaper that got on us for spending money, and they changed editors, and 4 months later, they wrote an editorial and questioned why we weren't on computers and saving money. Then we had some on council that just definitely would not use it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'd go ahead and look into it, and we can discuss it when we get closer to budget time.
Ms. Stockton just gave me a
Oh,
heads
she
up on
could.
this.
Okay. She's still on the call, right? Miss Stockton, you still there with us?
Maybe she's
Yes.
Oh, there she. Okay.
I am good with that, 100%.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Anything else? All right. Number 9, discussion of a request from Jason Taylor to close Cumberland Street from Johnson Street to Patton Ferry on the 22nd of April for a car show. Don't have any issues.
just as long as we notify the dentist office down there, make sure that they're not
Yeah.
like we are with everybody else, as long as we're not telling somebody that we're gonna close the street and they've got business that day,
the
Yeah.
22nd.
which it hasn't been a problem in the past.
No.
This will be what, the third one?
Third or fourth. I don't think Travis is open on Saturdays. I can
What is the
text him right now and find out.
I don't think he goes all the way back that far anyhow.
Yeah, usually
He
does.
said the Johnson Street's what he's,
yeah, we always put it that way, but he never goes that far with it. So,
Yeah. Okay. All right, discussion to reappoint Councilman Brown to a 6-year term on the Solid Waste Authority Advisory Board. Since his term expired March 31st of last year, and he's been continuing on that board, I guess we'll just add to the agenda to reappoint him to that board.
Can I speak in my defense or against it or whatever? If anybody else wants this, it just tickles me to death. You can have every board appointment I've got. I'd be happy for everybody to take it. They just called and said it was out. I didn't have any idea that it was there a year. But this is the best committee of all the committees the city's got. It only meets one time a year.
Oh, that's
And it's about time to meet again is the reason they're asking about it.
all right. So we'll go ahead and do that Tuesday night. 11 is discussion of maintenance responsibilities at the library. Ms. Johnson, do you have anything else that we need to discuss on that, or was you good with what
No, I
you
think we're
found out?
good with that.
Okay, good. All right. So that's the end of the agenda, so I'll go around the room. Mr. Bradwell, do you have anything? Mr. Childs?
No, sir.
Mr. Brown, do you have anything?
No.
Ms. Wright?
As we had just briefly went over, the Delaney property did close last week.
Yes, it did. I went and signed all the paperwork
And
on,
so-
what day was it, Friday?
Friday.
Friday, yeah.
And so now we have extra property that is adjacent to, Lad Park. So I think that's one of the best expansion. I think that's the first expansion in a park system in a while.
Since we built Ladd Park.
Since, right. And I also wanted to say thank you so much to the Parks and Rec staff. There was an issue with the Ladd Landing ramp over the last weekend, where TWRA had left, an obstruction on that ramp. It was a pile of gravel, we think, and, as soon as I alerted the city manager and JR about the issue, he went out on a Sunday and got equipment and tried his best to get that obstruction moved. So I just want to say that, thank you for that, for going out on your day off to take care of that. I appreciate it.
And Facebook is the devil.
Again.
Yes.
Anything else, Ms. Wright?
No.
Ms. Johnson, you have anything? Ms. Stockton, do you have anything?
The only thing I was going to mention is just Tim Clark and his team are doing a fantastic job with the sidewalks. It just looks so good with the lights added each day. They're getting a little bit closer to being complete. Just really adds to the city. And then also we had a sponsored bench that was for the parks, and the Park and Rec did a good job installing that, putting a plaque in. So all that was paid for and sponsored, but of course the guys did the labor on putting it and installing it. And so that's just something I thought I would mention, if that's something we would like to kind of put out as the offer, that if someone wants to sponsor other benches, or, I mean, that was just a request they wanted to do, and I had mentioned it to them, and we spoke about it, and I thought we would just talk, if the council was interested in looking at more benches being sponsored, or if that's not something they wanted to do. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's a park bench that is right by the Methodist Church, but on the trail. So it's just facing the lake.
Yeah, I've seen
And those usually run right around $1,000.
We do that now. We've got or we did have under, I just remember that there's more than one, and then there's also the lights around the walking trail have got sponsorship on them too.
Yeah.
Seems like it was $600, but for a light, when we put them around the walking trail at the,
Yeah,
below the
around
fort.
Yeah.
And then I know that we had some benches, they just had to meet our standards so that, it wouldn't be and then I think we also had picnic tables that people could buy on a form once upon a time. So I know we've done it in the past.
So that might be something we could, I could get the information of where that was ordered from, and it might be something that we could just give that to the council if everyone was good with it in the Park and Rec. We could offer that for other people that wanted to buy it in memory of someone. It was just a really nice, it added to the parks. It was a very nice bench, and was also for a good cause. So I thought that might just be one more thing to add to our parks if I think we're always looking to upgrade or add benches, especially along the lakes, or any city park, really.
I
Okay.
want to say, didn't you all just do a refurbishment of the benches that are already around the lake? The wood ones, okay.
I'd say just go
Good,
to
yeah.
the Park and Rec, let them find where they did it before, and carry right on. If somebody wants to donate it, they can.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's take it.
Mr. Attorney, do you have anything tonight?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Bowling?
Well, speaking of our attorney, I'll put him on the spot here just a second.
several of you have asked me how he's doing. And I just want to report that he's doing a great job. We're working him, we're getting our money's worth out of him, as Kevin and Kelly can attest, but very thorough and doing a great job for you, so.
And very
Just wanted to pass that.
responsive, I appreciate it.
Has he got a check yet?
Yes.
Okay, good.
He hasn't quit yet.
Ms. Kelly, do you have anything? Ms. Jackson, anything else?
Does anybody else want to go to TML March 13th and 14th? I need to register if you do.
No.
And remember on that, the 14th, we do have a council meeting.
Yeah. I can let you know tomorrow. I know. The only thing I've got, and this is for JR and you, pickleball courts. It's getting close. Where are we?
So, and JR can speak to this, we're having some back and forth with the gentleman who is going to do the work. And, originally didn't get finished because the weather, didn't get to finish last fall. The idea was he was going to come in the spring and do that. Now he's kind of saying it's going to be summer. So we're in the process of talking to him about that, and I'm of the opinion that if he does not commit to doing this spring, that we find somebody else.
Yes, I agree 100%.
So,
I agree 100% on that. But I would start looking for other companies that would do that. And I'm sure right now, with as many pickleball courts as around, there's more companies out there. Okay, all right, that's
Did we have a second bidder on it?
I don't think no,
had to
we
get
just
qu-
built it
was-
on, we just added it on the track.
Yeah, it was below the bid threshold. The same person who got the bid to do the track was going to do the pickleball court, but
Cherry picked us, didn't
yeah. So we it will not be under it will not be over the bid threshold. So
Perfect.
we'll move on that if we don't get an answer out of him very soon as this week.
Yeah.
Then we'll
Yes, please do.
start shopping that around.
All right, see anybody got anything else?
Can we, did you ask Kevin, you got any bad news or good news, Kevin?
I'm good.
That's good. Don't see anybody here.
I've answered a lot of questions. I've took a lot of telephone calls. I'm gonna say some's been happy, some might not have been happy.
Good, okay.
But
Went as well as expected.
Yes, I think, and I won't lie, I think y'all might have a few to maybe be in attendance next week. I think a lot of it, just a heads up for y'all, I think a lot of it is the charges. But, but for the most part, it's
Like
just
tap
been a lot of
fees and
telephone.
stuff?
No, about the sewer rates.
Oh,
A lot feel like, because they're not tied onto it, they shouldn't pay the full amount. Some wants a flat rate. I've also been questioned, well, in 2002, when this line went in, the user fee was only $300. Can we go back and y'all let us have it for that price? And I said, a lot changes in 20 years. But
and
that's
they've been
what-
made aware that our fees have been set by the state as well.
They have. And Andrew can probably attest to this, David, Kelly. I've told everybody that I spoke to, listen, I'm just here to give you the facts. This is what the facts are. You make your own decision as to whether you want to do it or whether you don't. I have had multiple people call me back and say, hey, we understand, what you're telling us is true. Like I say, I've fielded, I probably had 7 or 10 days of telephone calls about 8 hours a day.
I know there was a very large thread on the Devil Facebook. I did not engage in that conversation, but I did post to that thread the state law, our code, and the Attorney General opinion. I made sure that I had that in my hands before we even made this decision. I know once that was posted, a lot of them realized that we weren't trying to pull a fast one or anything. That's just how it is set up. So I knew that you would probably get quite a bit of feedback after, we decide to uphold the policy that we already had. So I apologize for all the feedback that you've been getting, but I appreciate you
Well,
fielding it.
And here's the thing, I'll be honest with you, is I've tried to keep everybody that I could off of y'all so that y'all didn't have to deal with so much. Maybe that's been good, maybe that's been bad, I don't know what it's been like for y'all. You know, I've also told a lot of these people that I've spoke with, you know, they say, well, it's just the city doing this to us, and I've tried to reiterate to them, this ain't so much a city thing as it is a state. When TDEC says they're not giving you a septic permit,
That's right.
we're there to try to make sure that you continue to have a house to live in and have sewer. I said, but this is really coming down from a level above us.
Hey, the questions, I've got quite a few questions from people, you know, because what I do.
Right.
But, a lot of the questions is on the sewer pump. Are they mandatory to use that one sewer pump, or can they go out and get something different?
The way our policy is, I think it only allows E1s in our system. I think that's in our sewer specs. I have had some people, this affected some people that was on gravity out Murray Road, Galhar Road area. You know, as I told them, if it's a gravity system, I'm gonna let you use gravity.
Yeah.
If it's low pressure, you gotta go with the pump. And, like I say, in our sewer specs, it's listed as only an E1 right now. If it's something that y'all wanna change to allow other pumps, I mean, I'm good with that. But I think our thought process in it when we put those sewer specs in place is, as we go on, and I think eventually at some point in time, maybe in the nearer future than what we believe, it might be where the utilities has got to be responsible for the maintenance of those pumps.
That's what I was wondering, because
Right.
if you make them do one certain pump, are you gonna have to stand behind that pump since
Well,
you
and
made
my
them do
thought-
that pump?
My thought process on that is if it comes to the point that the city or the utility has to maintain that, it's a whole lot easier to stock one pump than it is 5
Yeah.
different pumps.
And the other question I had was, from a few people, is like the apartments. Can they hook up to one pump, or are they gonna have to do each individual apartment on one?
Well, you know, that goes into a thing, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they've got to do individual, but if you're gonna start my understanding, if you're gonna start hooking multiple apartments onto one unit,
Yeah.
or onto one pump, one of two things is gonna happen. The pump's gonna wear out quicker, or when that pump goes out, everybody's out. And a lot of times in apartments, they're gonna recommend doing what they call a duplex station, where it's got a series
Yeah.
of pumps in there. They're always gonna have one, it's never gonna be a failure.
Yeah, which, they asked me that, and I said the best bet would be to call the company and see what the pump will handle, you know? See what their recommendation is on it.
What did the complex do that we just extended the sewer, where they weren't allowed a new septic permit?
On Orchard.
Yeah. Do you know what they used?
Well, Mr. Muncie's actually building a duplex up there now.
Mm-hmm.
He had a threeplex in front of that.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing three pumps, one for each unit, and then the duplex that he's building, he's gonna do separate. I believe Mr. Spakes, I wanna think that he ended up buying three,
Mm-hmm.
and he sorta cheesed out there a little bit and just put one in and sold the other two. So, you know, he asked me my opinion of it, and I said, it's whatever you wanna do.
But so if the pump wears out, that's on the customer to replace.
Currently, right now, yeah.
Okay.
Kevin's done a great job running point on this. Absolutely. You know, we've done all the due diligence that we should have done, and we've shared that with you with the Attorney General's opinion and all that. But interestingly, just today, Kelly found from what year? 1992, where all this was done, and we have the letter from MTAS, and where this whole process, the city went through this whole process and got the same answers.
Yep.
So it has come up before. And that would have been right around the time that ordinance was passed.
Yes.
So, we have, we're certainly very confident in our position on it. We know where people are coming from, but,
And I'm happy to
It's-
see that the city, is in the practice of abiding by the policies that are set and not giving preferential treatment to this person or that person, and all these other people don't have to do it a certain way. I'm very thankful that we're finally in the position where that is being done, not just in the water department, but all of our departments.
Let me just add one more thing, Mr. Mayor. The email that y'all received from David about the 40 customers who was outside of that boundary, just to let y'all know, I personally called or tried to call every one of those and speak to them by phone to let them know what was going on. And I explained to them that right now at this time, we would be, just because of some controversial language between the TCA code and the municipal code, that we was taking that back, that they could disregard that, but I also explained to them that if any time that this board chose to put sewer up that street, then that would take effect back in, and that we would be more than happy to notify them at that time, of giving a heads up on it.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.